Waves of War, the Royal Navy's frigates in the Age of Sail. The story of the Royal Navy's frigates in the late 18th and early 19th centuries is a saga of technological advancement, naval strategy, daring exploits, and personal courage. The story spans the rise of the frigate as a versatile and powerful force in naval warfare, the development of shipyards and construction methods, the experiences of sailors and captains, and the dramatic encounters that defined naval battles during the Napoleonic Wars. The frigate played a central role in shaping the outcome of naval conflicts and cementing Britain's maritime supremacy. The rise of the frigate. In the mid-17th century, the term frigate referred to a fast, lightly armed warship designed for scouting, raiding, and escorting larger vessels. These ships were often built with sleek lines, a single-gun deck, and a capacity for 20 to 40 guns, making them faster and more maneuverable than the heavily armed ships of the line, which had upwards of 74 guns. The frigate's combination of speed and firepower made it ideal for tasks such as intercepting enemy merchant ships, protecting trade routes, and engaging in naval reconnaissance. By the late 18th century, frigates had become an integral part of the Royal Navy's fleet. They were seen as the workhorses of the Navy, vital for patrolling the seas, intercepting enemy vessels, and serving as scouts ahead of the main battle fleets. The frigate's agility and relatively small size made it particularly effective in single-ship engagements and commerce raiding, where quick strikes and escape were often key to success. Shipyards and the craft of building frigates. The construction of frigates was a highly specialized and labor-intensive process, requiring the skills of master shipwrights, carpenters, and laborers. During the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the Royal Navy relied heavily on shipyards along the British coast to produce the vast number of frigates needed for war. Two of the most famous shipyards were Portsmouth Dockyard and Chatham Dockyard. Portsmouth, with its deep-water harbor, had long been a center of British shipbuilding, while Chatham became known for producing some of the most innovative ships of the era. The Royal Navy's demand for ships during the Napoleonic Wars led to an expansion of shipyards, and innovations in shipbuilding technology played a crucial role in the design of frigates. The process of building a frigate involved hundreds of workers. The hull was constructed from seasoned oak, which had to be cut, shaped, and fitted together using iron bolts and wooden pegs. These ships often featured multiple decks, with the gun deck being the most important for combat. The quality of the timber, the precision in the construction, and the craftsmanship of the shipwrights determined the ship's ability to survive the rigors of battle and the sea. The shipbuilders also faced immense pressure due to the urgency of the war effort. Construction deadlines were tight, and the labor force was often strained due to the increasing demand for ships. Skilled shipwrights and their apprentices worked long hours to complete these vessels, often working under the strain of wartime conditions. The role of frigates in the Napoleonic Wars. The Napoleonic Wars, 1803 to 1815, marked the pinnacle of the frigate's role in naval warfare. During this time, frigates were at the forefront of the Royal Navy's strategic efforts to counter Napoleon Bonaparte's French forces, both on the high seas and in the Atlantic, Mediterranean, and Caribbean. The French Navy had its own fleet of frigates, and a key aspect of the conflict was the constant cat-and-mouse game between British and French ships. One of the primary roles of frigates during the Napoleonic Wars was commerce raiding. The Royal Navy used its frigates to attack French merchant convoys and disrupt the supply of goods vital to Napoleon's war efforts. British frigates, with their speed and maneuverability, were ideally suited for this role, as they could quickly catch and overpower slower merchant ships or enemy warships. Frigates were also tasked with blockading French ports, preventing French ships from leaving and British merchant ships from entering. Blockading was a critical strategy used by Britain to isolate France and its allies, and frigates played a vital role in ensuring the success of this tactic. However, the most dramatic and often romanticized role of frigates during the Napoleonic Wars was their participation in the Battle of the Frigates. These single-ship engagements between British and French frigates were fast-paced, intense, and sometimes decisive. A notable example is the Battle of the Chesapeake in 1781, where the British frigate HMS Templar was defeated by the French frigate La Belle Poule, marking a pivotal moment in the American Revolution. Another famous engagement was the Battle of Trafalgar, 1805, which, while largely a battle between the massive ships of the line, also saw frigates playing important roles in the pursuit and interception of enemy vessels. Frigates like HMS Victory, HMS Indefatigable, and others fought alongside larger ships and participated in cutting off French reinforcements and merchant fleets. Captains and sailors, heroes of the frigate era. The captains who commanded Royal Navy frigates during the late 18th and early 19th centuries became legendary for their bravery, tactical skill, and leadership. These commanders were often young men, many of whom had risen through the ranks of the Navy from ordinary sailors to officers. Some, like Sir Edward Pellew, Sir Francis Austen, and Horatio Nelson, became iconic figures whose names were synonymous with naval victories. Pellew, for example, became renowned for his leadership and daring in battle. He commanded HMS Indefatigable and played a key role in the Royal Navy's success in the Mediterranean and the English Channel. His famous tactics and decisive victories against larger French ships made him a celebrated figure in British naval history. Horatio Nelson, although primarily associated with his leadership at the Battle of Trafalgar, also commanded frigates during his career. Nelson's success in engaging with enemy ships, his willingness to take risks, and his personal courage set him apart from other naval commanders. The sailors aboard these ships, many of whom were recruited through impressment, the forced recruitment of men into the Navy, often faced difficult conditions. Life aboard a frigate was physically demanding, and sailors endured long months at sea, sometimes in harsh weather conditions. Diseases like scurvy were rampant, as the ships lacked fresh fruit and vegetables, leading to many men suffering or dying from preventable ailments. Despite these hardships, sailors often spoke of the sense of camaraderie that developed among the crews. Their reliance on one another during long voyages and in battle created strong bonds, and many sailors recounted moments of heroism, endurance, and sacrifice. The legacy of the frigates. By the end of the Napoleonic Wars in 1815, the role of frigates in naval warfare had been solidified. They had proven themselves to be indispensable in a variety of roles, from raiding and reconnaissance to blocking enemy ports and engaging in pitched battles. The Royal Navy's ability to maintain control over the seas and protect its trade routes was, in large part, due to the versatility of the frigate. The success of the Royal Navy's frigates also helped establish Britain as the dominant naval power in the 19th century. The skills of the shipbuilders, the leadership of the captains, and the bravery of the sailors ensured that Britain would maintain control of the seas, securing its empire and facilitating its rise as the world's most powerful maritime nation. In the years following the Napoleonic Wars, the legacy of these frigates continued to inspire generations of sailors and naval strategists. Their role in the Napoleonic Wars, their influence on naval tactics and shipbuilding, and the stories of the men who served aboard them became woven into the history of the Royal Navy. Today, the ships that bore the brunt of battle, like HMS Victory, still stand as monuments to this era, and their stories continue to echo through the annals of naval history. The frigates of the late 18th and early 19th centuries were not just instruments of war, but also symbols of Britain's maritime might, embodying the spirit of adventure, courage, and ingenuity that defined the era. Their legacy continues to be felt in modern naval warfare, where the principles of speed, agility, and tactical versatility remain just as important as they were during the days of sail. The shipyards, birthplaces of the Royal Navy's frigates. The shipyards of Britain played a crucial role in producing the frigates that became symbols of naval dominance. The Royal Navy depended on the efficiency and innovation of its shipbuilders to meet the demand for vessels capable of withstanding the rigors of long voyages, battle, and often harsh conditions. One of the most important shipyards during the late 18th and early 19th centuries was Chatham Dockyard. Located on the River Medway, Chatham became one of the principal shipbuilding centers for the Royal Navy. It was here that some of the most famous frigates, such as HMS Indefatigable and HMS Temeraire, were built. Shipbuilders at Chatham were renowned for their craftsmanship, and the dockyard became a symbol of British maritime superiority. Similarly, Portsmouth Dockyard, which had been in operation since the 16th century, played a major role in building frigates for the Royal Navy during the Napoleonic Wars. It was at Portsmouth that many of the nation's most legendary frigates were launched, including the famous HMS Victory, Nelson's flagship at the Battle of Trafalgar, though many of the smaller frigates were built here as well. Shipbuilding innovations and challenges. Shipyards faced numerous challenges during this period, as shipbuilding techniques were constantly evolving. Frigates, which were smaller than ships of the line but still heavily armed, required a balance of speed, agility, and firepower. Builders employed innovative techniques, such as diagonal bracing, to give the hulls of these ships greater strength while still allowing for speed. Additionally, copper sheathing was introduced to protect the ship's hulls from the damaging effects of barnacles and shipworms, which significantly increased their durability. Despite the innovations, the shipyards also faced challenges. The demand for ships during the Napoleonic Wars often outstripped the supply of skilled labor, which meant that many shipbuilders worked long hours under difficult conditions. The labor force in these yards was a mix of experienced shipwrights, apprentices, and dockworkers. The stress and urgency of meeting deadlines often led to tensions in the yards, with rumors of labor disputes and strikes. Anecdotes and reminiscences from frigate crews. The men who served on Royal Navy frigates were a mixture of experienced sailors, press-gang recruits, and young lads seeking adventure. Life aboard a frigate was harsh, and sailors often spoke of the long days of constant vigilance, the terrible seas, and the dangers of battle. A sailor's life on a frigate was full of monotony, but it could also be filled with moments of camaraderie and heroism. William Haast, a young officer who would go on to command HMS Triton, recounted his experiences of serving aboard frigates during the wars. Haast, who became a captain at the age of 23, remembered the sense of brotherhood among the men aboard ship, despite the hardships they faced. He described how, after long months of watching and waiting off the coast of France, frigates would engage in sharp and short battles with French vessels, with sailors pulling together to outmaneuver the enemy. One poignant anecdote comes from Lieutenant John Richard Lapenotier, an officer aboard HMS Pickle, which famously brought the news of the victory at the Battle of Trafalgar to Britain. Lapenotier's journey across the Bay of Biscay in a small boat, carrying the vital dispatches, is one of the most dramatic tales of naval heroism. His vessel, despite rough seas, made it through a storm to deliver the news, and the dispatch was said to have been the most important message in the history of Britain. The crew of HMS Pickle became heroes, and Lapenotier was later celebrated for his bravery. Sailors on frigates often faced difficult conditions while engaged in their work, with rough seas, scarce food, and illness plaguing many ships. Disease, such as scurvy, was common among sailors and a constant worry for captains and crews. Frigates were often in close quarters, and with little room for proper sanitation, illnesses could spread rapidly. On long voyages, when fresh provisions were hard to come by, many men suffered, but it was the seasoned sailors who had learned tricks to survive, like soaking their clothes in brine to help ward off scurvy. Frigate captains, commanding in a new era. The role of a captain on a frigate was one of immense responsibility and prestige, but also fraught with challenges. Captains had to manage their crews, navigate their ships through perilous waters, and engage in battles that could decide the fate of nations. One of the most famous frigate commanders of this era was Sir Edward Pellew, who captained HMS Indefatigable. Pellew was known for his bold tactics and was instrumental in the Royal Navy's success during the Napoleonic Wars. He was admired for his leadership and ability to inspire his men, often leading them in close, bloody engagements with enemy ships. His exploits were legendary, and he became a figure of great respect among his peers. Captain Pellew's leadership style was described by many of his contemporaries as a combination of strict discipline and personal bravery. He was also known for his tact and calm under pressure. Another prominent captain was Sir Francis Austen, brother of the famous author Jane Austen, who served aboard HMS Triton. He was known for his meticulous attention to detail and his commitment to the welfare of his crew. His career, though quieter compared to some of his contemporaries, was filled with respect from his men and his superiors. As a captain, Austen's focus was on maintaining the ship's readiness and ensuring that his crew was well prepared for battle. The legacy of the frigate crews and their captains. The legacy of the frigates and their crews is one of resilience, bravery, and innovation. These ships and the men who sailed aboard them played a crucial role in the victories of the Royal Navy during the Napoleonic Wars. The stories of their encounters, the tactical ingenuity of their captains, and the heroism of the men who served aboard them became woven into the fabric of Britain's naval heritage. The frigates of the late 18th and early 19th centuries set the stage for the future of naval warfare. Their influence can still be seen today in the design and operation of modern naval ships. The legacy of their captains, their crews, and the shipyards that built these extraordinary vessels continues to inspire generations of sailors, historians, and those who remember the courage and sacrifice of those who served during one of the most pivotal periods in maritime history. PolySpeaks for You incorporates voice control features that allow users to perform essential actions like opening, saving, and creating new documents, as well as interacting with font and document editing dialogues. This is particularly helpful for individuals with disabilities, enabling hands-free operation and more accessible content management. Below are some of the voice control functionalities designed for ease of use. 1. Voice-commanded document handling. Open document. Users can say commands like open document, followed by the file name or location, and Poly will open the document for them. Save document. Commands like save document as or save allow the user to save their work without needing to manually click on buttons. Poly can also handle saving with specific file names or locations as dictated. A new document. A simple voice command such as create new document or start new file will initiate a fresh document in the app. A closed document. Commands like close document or exit can be used to close the current document. 2. Font dialog voice controls. Font style. Users can control font settings by saying change font to Arial or set font at Times New Roman. This would change the selected text's font style. A font size. Commands like increase font size or decrease font size adjust the text size according to user preferences. A font color. Users can use commands such as set font color to red or change font to blue to personalize the text color. 3. Voice-commanded document editing. A text formatting. Commands like bold text, italicized text, underline text, or strikeout text allow users to edit their document easily. For example, saying bold this text will apply bold formatting to the selected text. Alignment. Users can command alignment changes by saying align left, align center, or align right. A text insertion. A user can say insert text, and the software will insert the given text at the current cursor position. A text navigation. Commands such as go to the top, scroll down, or move to the next paragraph enable users to navigate the document without the need for a mouse or keyboard. 4. Voice-activated help and assistance. Help commands. Users can ask questions like, what can I do? Or help me with saving to receive guidance on specific tasks. Poly can offer step-by-step instructions based on voice queries. A undo/redo. Voice commands such as undo or redo let users correct mistakes or revert to previous actions in their document. 5. Advanced features for accessibility. Speech recognition training. For improved accuracy, Poly can guide users through the Windows speech recognition training process, adapting to their voice patterns and improving dictation accuracy. A text-to-speech for editing. Users can have text read aloud to them while editing, making it easier to spot errors and refine their documents. These voice-controlled features make PolySpeaks for You an accessible tool for individuals with disabilities, particularly those with visual impairments, mobility issues, or other conditions that limit their ability to use traditional input devices. The hands-free operation helps users maintain independence and improve their document management and editing experience. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to stay updated with more content. The creator of PolySpeaks for You has always been driven by a passion for giving a voice to those who need it most. Whether it's through text-to-speech technology or voice recognition, the goal has always been to create tools that help individuals, especially those with disabilities or learning challenges, communicate and interact with the world in a way that is meaningful and empowering. The stories shared, such as those about the sailors aboard the HMS Victory, are not just about reliving history, they are about the power of voice. Through Polly Speaks For You, the creator saw an opportunity to use storytelling as a medium to convey courage, strength, and resilience, much like the sailors of the past. These stories are intended to inspire and engage users, reminding them of the importance of their voices, both literally and metaphorically. The idea behind these stories is to showcase how technology, particularly speech technology, can be a tool for preserving history, while also empowering users with the capability to share their own narratives. By blending history with technology, the creator of Polly Speaks For You aims to demonstrate how powerful a voice can be in shaping and sharing our world, past and present. In a sense, these stories represent more than just entertainment. They are a way for the creator to give a voice to history, to connect with users in a deeply human way, and to remind them that their voices matter, whether they are telling their own stories or those of others. The creator's work in developing Polly Speaks For You is never just about making a functional tool. It was about making sure that every voice had the power to be heard. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to stay updated with more content. This content has been adapted from the powerful features of Polly Speaks For You, South Africa's leading accessibility software. Learn more at www.polyspeaksforyou.co.za. We invite you to support this meaningful dyslexic initiative, crafted and developed by an individual who personally understands the challenges of dyslexia.